Namaskaram, friends. Today, I'm with you all again to discuss a very important issue which is coming again and again because I have to laugh at it because it's such a ridiculous issue that I have to address that issue. Recently, I had been to HAL SC Employees Association Ambedkar Jayanti function where a massive number of SC/ST employees, more than 2,000 employees were gathered. And there I gave a speech in Kannada, which actually my original drafted speech was in English, but I gave it in Kannada. So many people did not get the main points which I was speaking because that speech involved a lot of research which I had done for the past 2 years on a topic which is very relevant to us. So, the topic which I'm going to discuss today is why people telling that Ambedkar is not the real architect of the Constitution, but B.N. Rao, someone called B.N. Rao, is the architect of the Constitution, is completely baseless and then there is no basis for that. I still remember one author in Tamil Nadu compared him to a stenographer, my friends. While Swamiji in Uttar Pradesh, recently I saw a video of that function where they have kept the B.N. Rao's statue there and then down it is written Samvidhan Nirmata B.N. Rao. So, my friend, this is just trying to relegate the work done by our great leader, Dr. Ambedkar. And I have been at the forefront of this debate right from the beginning, collecting a lot of information. And even in my book, The Inspiring Ambedkar, I have a detailed chapter written on this, on why Dr. Ambedkar alone is the real architect of the Constitution. And today, my friends, in that speech, I added many other points which are emerging from the latest research, which are not known to the public. Now, many people tell that Ambedkar is not the father of Indian Constitution, but it is B.N. Rao. Some of them mention that the Indian Constitution was drafted by B.N. Rao and it was written by Prem Bihari Risad and it was presided by Dr. Rajendra Prasad and Dr. Ambedkar was just a member in that. So, dear friends, recently Romila Tapar, the famous historian from JNU, had mentioned that, see, there is a which is conflict which is there between the authentic academic history and self-made propaganda. Today we are seeing that propaganda running all over, and that is to brainwash public perception about Ambedkar. The real fact is that he, being the architect of the Indian Constitution, is acknowledged by many leaders within the Constituent Assembly. Now, the person whom they referred, Prem Bihari Risad, as the drafter of the Constitution is actually the calligrapher, and Mr. B.N. Rao was never a member of the drafting committee. He was just a constitutional advisor to the Constituent Assembly. However, Ambedkar himself acknowledged the role of B.N. Rao because B.N. Rao was a very important person and he was very crucial in providing legal technical advice during the constitution making process. However, he was not a former member of the drafting committee. Now, after the draft was placed, my friends, the drafting committee sat for more than 141 days. You should remember that. They sat for 141 days. And incidentally, this is not the only committee which, inside this committee, there were many subcommittees like minority subcommittees, which introduced reservation for SC/ST, OBCs, without which the draft which shaped the modern constitution is meaningless. So, to say that there is no contribution of Dr. Ambedkar and then is completely baseless. And I have pointed out many differences in that speech on what was the role of Dr. Ambedkar and then Dr. Like even B.N. Rao. Now, the first important point which I mentioned was that, see, Baba Saheb was the chairman of the drafting committee and he was responsible for delivering the constitution which is there today in this country. While B.N. Rao was just a constitutional advisor to the assembly. So you should remember that. He was just a constitutional advisor. He was never even a member. To say that he is the architect of the constitution is completely out of question because he was never a part of the drafting committee itself. We just gave the first drafts. B.N. Rao undisputedly provided technical, legal, structural input. See, he is like some kind of an advisor or a consultant who came in and then gave all the details. So that is acknowledged by even Dr. Ambedkar in his speech where he mentions this. I am quoting this speech now. This is directly what Ambedkar says. Coming to the drafting committee, it was elected by the Constituent Assembly on 29th August 1947. It held its first meeting on 30th August. Since August 30th, it sat for 141 days, which it was engaged in the preparation of the draft constitution. The draft constitution, as prepared by the constitutional advisor, my friend, that is B.N. Rao, as a text for the draft committee to work upon, consisted of just 243 articles and 13 schedules. Okay. The first draft constitution, as presented by the drafting committee, my friends, you remember that the drafting committee, after what constitutional advisor B.N. Rao gave us only 243 articles and 33 schedules. The first draft constitution, which was presented by the drafting committee, which was headed by Dr. Ambedkar, to the Constituent Assembly, contained 315 articles and 8 schedules. And at the end of the consideration of stage, the number of articles in the draft constitution increased to 386. In its final form, the draft constitution contains 395 articles and 28 schedules. See, where is 243 articles and where is 395 articles? And my friends, see this, what Dr. Ambedkar Saab says. The total number of amendments in the draft constitution tabled was approximately 7,635. Of them, the total number of amendments actually moved in the House was 2,473. My friends, you tell me now, where is 243 articles, which was presented initially, and then 315 articles, and then finally 395 articles. And then you can see clearly that the number of amendments which have happened is tremendous. 2,473 amendments which have been moved by Dr. Ambedkar, and then that is the beauty. The present constitution works because of his hard work. Now, let's go to the next important thing that see, during the Constituent Assembly at the last day when it was getting adopted, and even after that, many people have written about Ambedkar's contribution. So it is very categorically written by many important, eminent people that what was his role. Now, the first thing is that, which is coming out, is that from even Ambedkar's own speech, that 7,635 amendments were debated after the draft constitutions were made, and then 2,473 were adapted with various changes. Don't you think it's a big change? Now, my friends, the next important point is what did the draft constitution have? What Mr. Rao's draft had? Did it have right to life, right to dignity, and many other fundamental rights? Today, if my friends, if there is some small violation, people rush to High Court, Supreme Court for a writ petition. If you look at the initial draft of Rao's, it never had enforceable fundamental rights. Now Rao's draft never had any directive principle embedded in it. While Ambedkar, right from his roundtable conference, had been advocating various measures that would reduce social, education, and economic inequality among various sections of society, maybe SC, ST, OBCs, and minorities. And this got integrated into the state policy, focusing more on social and economic justice. The initial draft never had all these things. Now, what did Ambedkar bring about with those amendments and then changes which were debated in the Constituent Assembly is very important. Some of them, my friends, Article 17, abolition of untouchability. Today, a lot of SC, ST, OBCs can live with some dignity and self-respect because of this. People are scared to practice untouchability, except in the rural areas. Now, in the urban areas, it's almost gone. Article 15.4, 16.4. What is it? It is reservation based on education and public employment. This is reservation for SC, ST, OBC. The fundamental article. It was not there in the draft. It was there in the Ambedkar's constitution. So remember that. Article 32, right to constitutional remedies. Anything happens with your dignity or right to life or anything, today you have a remedy in the courts. You can rush to the courts with a petition. Who introduced it? Dr. Ambedkar. Abolition of forced labor. Who introduced it? Ambedkar. Article 15, protection against discrimination. Ambedkar. Directive principle for social and economic justice. Ambedkar. Safeguards for minorities, religious and linguistic minorities, including protection of cultural rights and representation. It's Ambedkar. Universal adult franchise. It is Ambedkar. And my friends, remember that the initial proposal, the name given was only India. It was Ambedkar who made it India, that is Bharat. Remember that. Initially, there was a conflict of the words republic or democratic. Ambedkar introduced the word sovereign democratic republic. Ambedkar was the person who introduced backward classes. He fought for backward classes reservation, OBC reservation. He did not just fight for SC reservation alone. He was the one who fought for even the ST reservation. So that is clearly documented. Everything. So, my friends, you see now what others have praised about Dr. Baba Saheb in the Constituent Assembly. The first is an eminent person, T.T. Krishnamachari. What he says? The House is perhaps aware that of the 7 members nominated by you, one had resigned from the House and was replaced. One died and was not replaced. One was away in America and his place was not filled up. And another person was engaged in state affair, and there was a void to that extent. 1 or 2 people were far away from Delhi and perhaps reasons of health did not permit them to attend. So it happened ultimately that the burden of drafting this constitution fell on Dr. Ambedkar, and I have no doubt that we are grateful to him for having achieved this task in a manner which is undoubtedly commendable. Now, you look at what President of Constituent Assembly Dr. Rajendra Prasad says about the father of Constitution. Sitting in the chair and watching the proceedings from day to day, I have realized as nobody else could have with that zeal and devotion. The members of the drafting committee and especially its chairman, Dr. Ambedkar, in spite of his different health, have worked. Remember that Ambedkar's health was going down. He incidentally passed away in 1956, only 6 years after this. But still, he worked, my friends. We could never make a decision which was or could ever be so right as when we put him on the drafting committee and made him its chairman. He has not only justified his selection, but has added luster to the work he has done. My friend, even Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, paying tribute on his death, that when he died on 6th December 1956, he mentioned the way he will be remembered most will be as a symbol of revolt against the oppressive features of Hindu society. He rebelled against something against which all ought to rebel, and he have in fact rebelled in various ways. This itself represents in the legislation which it has framed its repudiation of its customs or legacies, which kept down a large section of our people from enjoying their normal rights. So it was clear that even Nehru praised Ambedkar, friends. Then Lady Mountbatten, she mentioned she was personally glad Ambedkar supervised the constitution, calling him the only genius who can give equal justice to every class and creed. So, my friends, it is clearly documented that it was Ambedkar's addition which transformed the draft which was given initially. So, today, what we are, it is because of Ambedkar. The reservations we enjoy, the SC, ST, OBC, should remember Ambedkar solely because he fought for this reservation right from 1920s. Every round table conference is gone, and then, my friends, today we celebrate somebody becoming the chairman of railway board when a Dalit becomes. But my friends, do you remember when he first went to the cabinet? When he went to the cabinet, he goes and sees in every department, and there is not even one IAS. So then he goes to the viceroy and he tells that, my lord, we signed the Pune Pact in 1932, but still in 1942 we don't have anybody in the IAS and the IPS. Then he drafts a memorandum, my friends, and then it is because of that simple reason that reservations were introduced in civil services. So Ambedkar was not just a thinker, Ambedkar was an executor. He discussed with everyone, he made sure that the transformation happened, and finally the things were delivered to our people. Today we are enjoying the fruits of it. And remember that whenever somebody mentions that Ambedkar is not the real architect of the constitution, it is your duty to attack them and to tell them that what is the right thing. I hope that this is correct. Yeah, I hope that you people understand this, because see, this menace should stop. So with that, thank you, friends. I'll come back to you again with some more interesting things. Thank you.